Okay,
I
we're
am
going
ready.
live. Hello, everybody. I want to welcome you to another segment of Momentum Monday Leadership Experts, America's leadership expert, attorney Jen Garrett, and I am Dr. Dan, America's nutritionist and entrepreneur. Want to welcome everybody. We're a little late today, Jen. We're a little late today.
Yes, we are.
Just a little. What happened? What's going on here?
Well, we had some tech issues, unfortunately, in this virtual world that we live in. We've relied a lot on tech, and sometimes there are issues. And so we both experienced those today.
Yes, you know what? There was some type of update that was, and I think that may have been a little bit on my part. Maybe you didn't do the update, and that was a little bit about your part, but we figured it out. We were persistent. We were moving the ball. We were talking to each other through, via telephone, like, all right, what do we do? Are we going to do this? We're not going to do it. Of course we're going to do it because we're here every Monday. So we apologize for being a little late today. Attorney Jen is the author of Move the Ball bestseller, and it's an excellent book. I've read it a couple of times. I recommend everybody purchase it. So no more tech issues, right? Thank goodness.
Not now, and hopefully none throughout the day, fingers crossed.
I got telehealth to do today. I got to go into the office. I got to do notes and things of that nature. So the computer may be ready to rock and roll. If not, it's going out the window, I'll show the computer who's boss, right? So Jen, what are we going to talk about today?
Well, I wanted to talk about the tech issues because it happens. Like, we have a plan. You wake up in the morning and you're like, all right, I'm ready, right? I've heard this person on Momentum Monday, Jen and Dan, talk about how I need to suit up in the morning and be ready to go. And I got my game plan, and let's execute. And then you have something happen, just like the tech issues. So what do you do? And really, you take a moment and you breathe. And then you figure out, all right, how am I going to navigate through this little situation so that I can continue on? You don't get super frustrated. You don't think, oh my gosh, this day is going to be the worst day ever. It's just about figuring it out, letting that negative energy go, and continuing on.
Yeah, I think this is an important point because I think we all go through a maturation process when it comes to this. The day doesn't go the way it's supposed to go, right?
Yep.
So we're behind the 8 ball a little bit. We're going to be late for a couple of things, but we'll make it up and we'll make it work. In my younger days, Jen, oh boy, it was a situation where I would, as we would say, the cliche, fly off the handle. And I would be in the office and I would, I was very frustrated back in those early days, 30 something years ago. And I learned that if you don't handle the situation handles you. And the way the situation handles you is that it really goes down south quickly so that you don't get anything done for the morning. And then the whole week, because if you're an entrepreneur, if you lose a morning and if you can't control yourself, am I correct in saying this? The whole week is actually off because everything that you were supposed to do doesn't get done. It's got to get done at some point in time. So now you're trying to figure in what meeting you're going to do here, what meeting it's going to go over here. We have meetings set up. I got patients. You have clients. So taking a step back and breathing and handle the situation instead of the situation handling you.
Right. Instead of going into just this tactical, chaotic mode and trying to navigate and survive through the day, it's really about being strategic and saying, okay, I've eaten up this much time because of this tech issue or whatever event it is. I'm not willing to give it any more time and energy. So thinking about how can I reassess, regroup, what are the priorities for today? Say no to those things that maybe you don't need to get done today, or figure out how can you be more efficient in getting the tasks that you need to get done. So what are you going to carve out that, maybe you were going to take a break and be on social media for a little bit and check in with the world. Cut that out. Maybe you were going to watch TV later in the day. You got to prioritize, right? So if things happen, you got to make sacrifices. You got to make those tough calls. And so you have to, think about how am I going to spend the rest of the day focused on the things that I really need to get done so that I can get back on track. And I think it's important to use a sports concept because we always talk about sports in some way, shape, or form. in my book, I talk about, and when I do a lot of speaking events and virtual things, I talk about this concept called managing the game clock, because in sports, that's
Oh,
so
yes.
important. We've seen this if you're watching March Madness, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But if you're watching March Madness, that clock management has been absolutely critical over the last few games. And the same thing is true for us. We don't have two halves. We don't have 60 minutes in a football game. We have 24 hours every day. So how are you going to manage those 24 hours so that you're effectively utilizing every single minute, every single second?
That's right. And, you know, I would, when I was younger, in my much younger days, during the 1980s, watching football, there was Joe Cool, right? There was Joe Montana. And he was the best clock management quarterback of his time, hands down. Tom Brady has that. Whether you like either one of them or not is irrelevant to the conversation. They know how to do that. So, you know, Joe Montana, 10 minutes left in the game, you're down by 3 or 4 touchdowns. You know what? He would just walk out onto the field and he would manage that clock no matter what was going around, no matter how bad it was. Like you said, we had simple tech issues. He was able to move the ball, and he was very methodical in doing it. And so is Tom Brady. You know, and I think I may have mentioned it. What was that Super Bowl where he was down by 3+ touchdowns and he came out in the second half? And I looked at my son after the first series and I said, he just won the Super Bowl, because you knew that whatever happened, he was able to come back and he was able to figure whatever it was out that he needed to do. And it could be something as simple as this.
Right. The other thing about that is it's not just about managing the clock. It's about your mindset and what you're telling yourself. How are you reacting to the situation? And
I set you up for that, by the way. I wanted to let you know.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. But I remember talking with a guy whose son played for the Falcons. And so he was at the Super Bowl, and the dad was like, you know, you look over at the bench and there's Tom Brady just sitting on the bench waiting for his turn to get in. He's cool. He's calm. He's collected. He's just waiting. You know, he's not panicking. He's just waiting for his time. And so I mean, the same thing here. You can't panic. You just got to stay calm and figure out whatever it is you're going through. Just, again, breathe, take a minute and say, all right, how am I going to get through this? You know, what do I need to do, instead of just staying amidst the chaos and the energy that whatever situation you're in has presented to you. So you always have that choice. You have that choice. I mean, I had Lee Steinberg on my podcast last season. Lee Steinberg, super agent, has represented many top-notch NFL guys, but also Olympians,
Everybody.
Everybody. And so, you know, I asked him about what makes Patrick Mahomes so great. And what he said was it's his ability to have a quiet mind when you need it. And so it's really about how are you up here? How is this doing when you're facing times of adversity or challenges or issues? This is so important.
Right. And you know, I don't know if I want to say he's a throwback, but you know, a lot of individuals today they're very emotional. And when you're playing a game and when you're an entrepreneur, it can get very emotional. However, as you've said, and this is the point, and you're 100% correct. If in fact you can control your emotions and you can use your mindset to quiet your mind and start moving the ball, you're on your way.
Sure. Yeah. And a common thing that I'll talk about, the podcast guests, athletes talk about, is controlling what you can control. And one of the things you absolutely have complete control over is your mindset, the thoughts that you put in your head, your choices, how you react to situations. That's all within your control. That's nobody else's. That's your choices.
And you and I have had our ups and downs in the entrepreneurial world and struggles in the entrepreneurial world. And you have to control that, because if you don't control that, it's not going to be good in the end. Correct?
Absolutely. Well, they say, 90% of people give up just, right inches from the finish line. And part of that is they're not controlling what's in here. They're not controlling what they want to do. Now, sometimes it's time to give up. I'm not saying, sometimes it's time to reassess and say, you know what, this just isn't the thing. It's time to move on. So that doesn't mean we just keep going in perpetuity. But if we still think that whatever it is we're doing is valid and it's worth pursuing, then we control what we can control. We adopt the right mindset. We make the right choices so that we can move the ball and continue to progress towards that goal line.
I love it. I love that. And I think that's an important point to mention in April, starting the new month. Okay. Spring has sprung, and you can spring your mind into something better. You like that, don't you?
I do
So
like that. Yes.
you like that segue. See, you made it segue, and then I did that. So if any of the major news stations are out there listening, we are definitively available. So, we can do a morning drive time show. We'll make sure it works. Anyway, so let's talk about March Madness. I know that we were discussing this offline, and you said there was a lesson in what happened in March Madness, and you didn't share it with me because you wanted me to just, be as engaged as our audience is. And if anybody, we have a bunch of people watching us right now. If anybody has a comment for Jen or I, please put that in the comment section, and we'll be more than happy to answer.
Yeah, so March Madness, we're in April, but which is the end of the March Madness tournament. Tonight is the NCAA men's basketball championship game. Yesterday was the women's one. So first off, shout out to Stanford women for winning yesterday, played amazing. Arizona played amazing, their opponent. It was a close game. They won by 1 at the end. And so it's been an incredible series to watch. I mean, you just see, very talented individuals, both men and women, playing their hearts out, playing well, keeping it competitive. And that's great. I think a couple of things that I wanted to bring up about that. I mean, you've got people showing up to play, right? Like they're in it to win it. They're 100% committed and they're going all out. And Gonzaga, who is in the finals tonight, they played Baylor. Gonzaga played UCLA. The last game. UCLA has had quite the run if you haven't followed their story. I mean, they barely made it into the tournament. They kept knocking off opponents. I mean, playing amazingly and going into, so I'm a Gonzaga alum, full disclosure. So I'm pretty happy right now, but going into.
So we got a little bias going on here, Jen.
Hey, I'm giving credit to the other team. Wait a second. So going into the game, Gonzaga had beaten every opponent in the tournament by double digits. And so it was expected that Gonzaga would do the same against UCLA. And I was watching before the game and the commentators are like, UCLA is going to have a perfect game to be able to pull this off. And they didn't win, but oh my gosh, that game was a nail biter. There were so many lead changes back and forth, where in the other games, Gonzaga was always leading. And so, it came down to the wire. It went into overtime. It almost went into double overtime. What happened was Jalen Suggs, freshman at Gonzaga, ended up shooting this crazy 3-pointer at the buzzer. The fact that it went in was just insane. So Gonzaga wins. But, you have to give credit to these guys. They put it all out there. And the same is true for us. When we're playing, are you hungry enough to want to win whatever it is that you're trying to do? And so that's one thing I wanted to put out there, because I want to challenge people listening to think about, we go through the day to day and we're showing up, but how much are you showing up? Are you showing up like it's win or go home time, or are you just going through the motions, right? So that's one. The other thing that I think is important is at the end of that game, I mentioned Jalen Suggs took the shot. Of course he was going to take the shot because it's a basketball game and the clock is ticking. And so you just have to throw something up and see if it lands, right? And if it did, you win. If it didn't, you go in double overtime. So you take the shot. For us, I was thinking about this morning. It's always important that we take the shot. You don't have a buzzer beater. The clock isn't ticking down per se, unless you're up against some project deadline or something like that. And so how often are you taking the shots? And is it going to go in all the time? Maybe. No, it won't, but it might go in. But if you don't take the shot, it's not going to go in, right? And so I mentioned on a different episode that I've been adopting these words each year. Last year, my word was evolve. This year, my word is daring. And so it's all about taking the shots, those crazy ass shots that you never know are going to stick or not. And do they all stick? No, they don't. But I'm willing to take the shot and see. And I think that's the lesson, is take the shot.
You got to take the shot, because if you don't take the shot, you're never going to know. And what's the worst thing that can happen if you take the shot and it doesn't work out the first time? I don't like to use the F word, fail. I like to use the L word, learn, for the next time. Right. Yes. I don't like that, because, in my younger days, there was wins, there was losses, you would fail, you would win. But even looking back then, Jen, that when you got hammered in high school football in a state championship game, or if you were playing basketball and you missed that shot, there was always something that you can do to figure it out to make it better. But you have to take that shot in order to learn what to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
You know,
You gotta take a shot.
I remember reading a book, and this is going back in the 1980s, where Billie Jean King, the great tennis player, she lost, I don't know what tournament it was. It could have been, it's one of the big three, French, Wimbledon, Australia, and she lost and she was upset. But then everybody around her realized that she wasn't upset because she lost.
Mm-hmm.
She was upset because she realized what she did wrong during the match and what she needs to do to improve herself.
Yes.
To elevate her game.
Yep.
As opposed to, and she was really upset about that. And that had a remarkable and profound effect on me when I'm opening up my own businesses. I remember that, and I found that very interesting.
Yep. Absolutely.
So is there anything else, Jen, that you would like to discuss today?
I guess the last thing I'll put out there is, we've started a new quarter, and at the beginning of the new year, people really evaluate, what habits am I working on? What am I doing? What should I change? Where are you at now? Are you still evaluating how you can improve? Because people do it at New Year's time because that's just the thing to do, right? Mm-hmm. But are you doing that continually? Because it's always important to reassess. Are the things that I'm doing each day helping to propel me to where I want to go? Right. Or are they holding me back? Because you can't become who you want to be. You can't do the things that you want to do if you're still attached to who you've been and the habits that you've had in place thus far. Because not all of those habits are going to serve you for where you want to go. So I think it's important for people to think about, what are the habits I'm doing on a routine basis, and are those the right things? And if not, what changes do I need to make?
I think that's important. And, I was listening over the weekend. Somebody had sent me a course about momentum, and I thought of you. You got to start. You got to put that one foot in front of each other, and you have to inch forward, mm-hmm. because life is, what is that? What was that movie? Life is a game of inches.
It's a game of inches. Mm-hmm.
It's a game of inches, because those inches can lead into yards. Those mm-hmm. yards can lead into first downs and touchdowns and things of that nature. You got to keep going every single day, no matter what it is, no matter what you're facing, whether mm-hmm. it's a health scare or whether it's a tech issue, whether your business just lost money, and whether you made a mistake in your business, and then you need to grow from that, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
So Jen,
think about the habits. Think about the habits. They're important.
Absolutely. Jen, thank you very much. I'm motivated today and I'm inspired. I hope you are, in addition to.
Of course. Now that we've conquered our tech issues, I'm ready.
We've conquered our text issues. We've conquered the world, and we're going to conquer the world after this too. I got one quote for you that's for you, and I'm going to conquer the world. Maybe we'll talk about that next week. Let's see. Okay. You tell me what you think. You tell me what you think. But how can people contact you, Jen?
Yeah, you can find me on social media. If you go to, I got a website first, getinsidethehuddle.com. If you just search the hashtag move the ball, you'll find me everywhere. Always showing up. I'm always putting out content. You can take that comment and interpret it in many ways, by the way. That's why
just all over. No, you're all over social media.
But yeah, if you just search the hashtag move the ball, you can find me. It is Monday. Every Monday I do release a new podcast episode, Mondays and Thursdays, Move the Ball podcast. If you search Move the Ball on any of your podcasting platforms of choice, you'll find me. Also, movetheballpodcast.com. And I guess I'll share two things about the podcast, because you are always so nice in letting me share about it. One is, you're thinking, do I have a choice, Jen? But yes, you do.
See, when you become friends, that's what happens.
Yeah.
Dr. Dan, shut up, and I'm going to talk right now.
But today an episode releases. A young man by the name of Isaiah Wright. He was signed last year as an undrafted free agent, had a decent rookie season, but the insights, that young man has an incredible head on his shoulders, and he shares some great insights. One of the things he shares was, it's easy to be complacent and it's easy to get too comfortable. So I think it's very important for us to remember that we should not become comfortable. Yes.
Being comfortable is the enemy of growth. Being complacent is the enemy of growth. Move
Absolutely.
the ball, challenge yourself. Could be in any way, shape, or form. Having a better relationship with your children, with your family, starting a business. Get uncomfortable.
Right.
Because
yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Jen.
No, go ahead.
You know what? I've said this multiple times to my son over this weekend. Success in life is, how comfortable are you being uncomfortable?
Yep, absolutely.
And that's an important lesson for all of us to learn.
Absolutely. And I was just going to share, like with Isaiah, he wasn't drafted. He was picked up as a free agent. For people that aren't familiar with that, I mean, it is tough to be picked up as a free agent and make the 53-man roster, because that doesn't happen. Either you make the practice squad or you get cut and you're done. So he played some great games. I'm looking forward to his second season, but he's one that's got a good head on his shoulder. So I would encourage you guys to listen to that. The other thing that I would share is Thursday, April 8th, we kick off my Path to the Draft series, which is basically, it's a show that releases every weekday through the NFL draft, where I have draft prospects on talking about their story and their path to the draft, as well as what football has taught them to be successful in life. And Isaiah was on my show last year, and so I brought him back so that he can share kind of what he learned, how he's pivoted and adapted because of COVID, and just lessons that he's really taken away to be successful in life. So thank you for letting me share that here today.
Always, Jen, always. It's always great to listen to your podcasts. And I'm Dr. Dan. You can find me at suburbanwellnessgroup.com or greenleafbewell.com. And my podcast is Suburban Wellness Group. You can go to YouTube and all the venues, and you can listen to that. Listen to Jen and I. We're ready to, we're here to motivate. We're here to educate. We're here to inspire, to make you a better individual. So it's something that we take very, very seriously, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So Jen, thank you very much for being on today.
Thank you.
It's been a great conversation. We're here every Monday around 9:30 a.m. if we're having tech issues. And please share this with your family, friends, neighbors, coworkers, because we love to move the ball, and we want to move the ball with you. We love to motivate, educate, and inspire. Thank you very much. Be a better version of yourself. And we will see you next week around 9:30 a.m., barring any tech issues. Take care now.